All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the first LTG collaborative conversation of the 2018-19 school year. We're glad to have you here with us. Today, we're going to go over a few different things. We have a guest teacher with us coming to us from Florida. His name is Mr. David Lockett. He will be our teacher feature interviewee. So in just a moment, we'll be hearing from him about his teaching path, his current way he infuses service learning in the classroom, some professional development experience he's had, and a few other hot topics involved in his teaching and his teaching practice. Following that conversation, we're just going to take you quickly through our new Get Started tab on the website. We updated some things over the summer to make it a little bit more intuitive, a little bit more activity-based, and we know you're going to love it. We also created a printable 2018-19 calendar. I'll show you where to find it. You can download it and use it as you please. And we also have our big push for TeachOne for back to school with Crayon Collection. It's a great option and opportunity to get your students thinking about building community, giving back and service right at the beginning of the school year. And so with that, I'm going to jump into our conversation with Mr. David Lockett. David, hi there. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for having me this evening.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us. David, if you'll just start and quickly share with everyone the subject area that you focus in, grade levels you teach, and where your school is.
Okay, I'm a STEM, IT, and robotics teacher in Central Florida. I teach at Bach Academy in Lake Wales. We're right outside of Orlando. This is our first week of school, so just, it's a fantastic time. It's an exciting time to get students excited and involved, with what's going on in their community.
Definitely. First week of school means a busy time for everyone, right?
Yes, yes, very busy. Good time for introductions. Good time for, learning and seeing those new faces.
And speaking of introductions, let's have you share a little bit just about yourself. Think about your family life or your teaching journeys, kind of your teaching background a little bit. Let's jump into who's David.
Okay, hey, I am a international teacher. I've been teaching for a little over 10 years. I have that unique opportunity to teach coding, to teach community issues, to really dive deep into the subject matter. This summer, I've traveled to 3 different countries. I went to Africa. I visited South America. We went to Dubai, and they were all STEM and project related. We're trying to, bring that international scope to teaching and, bring a different perspective. So many interesting stories that I brought back to my students and, different life lessons that I learned. And, I interacted with, children from all over the place, and we did
Wow.
different projects, and it was an exciting summer.
Wow. Can you give an example of a project that you completed while you were on those travels?
Yes, yes, we travel to Chile often every summer, and we work with children for different astronomy projects. We worked with the Mandela Washington Fellows for STEM projects in Africa. We did some different types of energy projects where students learned more about the environment around them. They learned a little bit more about solar energy, wind energy, hydroelectricity. They were very excited to find out, about, how solar energy works and how
Mm-hmm.
it's a big part of their environment.
Excellent. That sounds great. And how many students do you work with when you do that?
Oh yeah, we work with anywhere from, it could be as small as 50 to, to over 250 students.
Wow. Wow, that's great. When you're thinking about those kind of experiences that you have and what you can bring back to the classroom kind of here in the States, what's top of mind, what sticks out for you?
What sticks out the most is, how teamwork and communication, are big components of learning. I talk to my students and I tell them, whatever project you're working on, whatever endeavor, whatever issue you're thinking about, partaking in, teamwork and communication are core aspects of that. Giving back, to your community, and that service learning is always a big part of the how and the why.
Yep. Excellent. When you think about that service learning community, what is it that you want your local community, where you live and thrive today, and where your students live and wake up every morning and go to school and go home after school? What do you want that local community to know about what your students are learning about service learning?
In our Central Florida community, it's we have a very warm climate, and it's warm a pretty good amount of the year. So the students love to learn more about their environment. Whether it's environmental studies, whether it's habitats, whether it's learning more about different organisms in the environment. They love to learn about their environment. They want that hands-on aspect.
Mm-hmm.
They're intrigued to not only see. We've got a Crooked Lake behind our school, a very large lake, and they can see all kinds of organisms in that body of water. So they're excited to learn more about it.
Excellent. So with that in mind, David, I know from our work with you and with Learning to Give that you've applied for mini grants in the past, and those mini grants often have to do with the environment and organisms and living things in the environment. So I'm going to switch to the next slide. David, I'm going to have you talk about the Bonneted Bat Service Project a little bit.
Yes. So last year, we experienced Hurricane Irma. And with Hurricane Irma, we had some damage to our building, and we missed school. So when we resumed school, we're back to business. We're trying to, get back into the groove of learning and, getting those classroom studies back in. So one in particular project was the Bonneted Bat project. In our engineering classes, we looked over the Learning to Give activities, and the students were very eager to adapt one of those lessons to our classroom.
Mm-hmm.
So one in particular, we at our school, we've got a lot of different palm trees, and a lot of our bat houses were destroyed due to Hurricane Irma. So our students proposed an idea to research a little bit more about this population that was indigenous to Central Florida, and they came up with the idea to install bat boxes, around our area and around some of the local, education outlets as well. It turned into a really, really big project. We were able to supply close to 50 bat houses for our area.
Wow. Okay. And with that, you also had the students do a little bit of kind of art and that sort of thing, right, with the boxes?
Oh, yes. We integrated STEAM. STEAM was a big component of our project. Art is always a big component. Our students love to express themselves. So what better way than to decorate these bat houses? They wanted to learn, not only wanted to learn more about it, but they wanted to, be a positive, they wanted to leave a positive mark in our community.
Mm-hmm.
This was a very fun project. It was very hands-on. We really extended our reach with this activity.
Excellent. And now I know that from your mini grant report that you were able to send back to Learning to Give and give us a little bit of information about what your students were able to do, we got a quote from you. And so I'm going to read this quote that a student said, and then I'm going to talk to you a little bit just about student transformation. But so the quote is, one student said, "It not only made me appreciate woodwork, but strengthened my ability to work in a group with other students and learn about bat behavior. It should be mandatory for more classes to have service learning projects so that schools can increase its positive presence in the community. I learned that bat houses have to be facing south-southeast." So with kind of that student quote in mind and their reflection on the whole project, the specifics of the project in terms of how to place a bat house, but then also their understanding of service learning. I just want to hear from your perspective, David, about student transformation and how you've noticed that happen in projects such as this one that you did last year.
Well, at our school, Bach Academy, we focus on 55 essentials. And one of those essentials is, giving back to the community and really providing, a service learning component. How are you giving back to your community? What are you doing to, help those around you? And with this project, we had park rangers come in. The students were totally involved from the onset of the project, when we actually, came up with different ideas. We adapted the lesson to actually hanging the bat houses. So, it was a complete, total integrated project to where, our students could really step back and they could say, wow, this is why service learning is important. And, this is why everyone should have access to a project, to a mini grant like this, and, get a better idea of their place in the community.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you think about incorporating service learning like you have, I'm curious, and I know there are other educators out there that struggle a little bit with the time factor of how do I fit this in when there's so many other things I have to do. So my question for you, David, is how do you balance standards, student needs, and then also administrative goals?
Oh, it's a very good question. We balanced this project. We aligned it with our standards by integrating math components in. We did a lot of measurements. I mean, the students, they measured, they came up with, different ideas in order to build these bat boxes. So, we integrated our standards through measurement. We did a lot of, literature activities where the students were writing, to where the students were incorporating that reading component as well. So, if you say, hey, I don't have the time to get this in, you definitely do. It's definitely, a lot of cross learning activities, a lot of activities to integrate across the subject matter. As far as the administrative goals, it's very, very simple. Our students, they love the writing component. It's very, very easy to document the student progress. We documented a lot of our activities on Twitter, a lot of our daily interactions on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
So the students were able to look back and actually see what they did, and they could take ownership of that.
Excellent. Do the students continue, you say they use Twitter a lot. Are you using specific hashtags and that sort of thing so the students are all tweeting and reflecting within the same kind of strand or thread?
Yes, I'm a teacher at Bach Academy in Lake Wales, and we have the Bach STEM Lab. So a lot of our tweets have Bach STEM.
Okay.
Depending on the project, we kind of tailor our projects with a specific hashtag so we can build that national awareness, and we can actually look back. So there's so many great hashtags, but I do suggest using one for any project you have, and definitely ongoing projects with your students.
Definitely, yeah, and we have some hashtags too that we use at Learning to Give. I'm going to give a little plug here. We always use hashtag TeachOne with the number one for any of those TeachOne initiatives that we use. And then we also have things like LTG chat that we try to use a hashtag, and hashtag LTG mini grant that's floating around out there. So again, like David said, really to build community, right, in the classroom. It's also about connecting your students in other ways, not just when their butt's in their seat. So something like a Twitter hashtag, and when they're reflecting and communicating with each other in class and outside of class, that can really help to build community. So it's a great idea to come up with either a class hashtag or a school hashtag or whatever it might be, so everyone can kind of see those strands. Now, David, too, I'm wondering about that in terms of your monitoring of something like a class hashtag or a school hashtag. Have you run into any issues, or have students been pretty respectful with their posts and their comments that they've shared online?
Yeah, one of the main things that we teach, and one of the main things that we involve our students in, is 21st century learning.
Mm-hmm.
We want them to be 21st century learners. We want them to be all encompassed with technology. So, in our lab, our students, they use their cell phones. And we preach to them that they're learning devices, they're learning tools. But there's always that aspect, that you have to reinforce. Teaching students not only to be 21st century learners, but that digital aspect, so they can, they can understand how to responsibly use it. That's the biggest component, when they can actually see that online, and they can see good examples and positive examples, and they can see negative examples. That gives them, a good path, a good idea to follow. We've had nothing but success so far.
Excellent. That is great to hear, and it sounds like the conversations that you have leading up to even sharing the one or the use of that Twitter and that hashtag for classroom purposes is really strong. And that might be something, David, that I might reach back out to you and put together a little one-pager description that other teachers might be able to use to help implement some sort of hashtag reflection option with their students, if you don't mind.
Yes, would love to. Would love to.
Could be
Thank you.
something that other people really want to hear about. Um, so as we talk about this and we talk about service learning in your classroom and connecting, how do you connect with other teachers, say in your building or in your district, in your area? And what is it, how do you collaborate with one another? Or do you have any mentor-mentee relationships with other educators? Can you talk about that a little bit, your experiences with that?
Yes, we're very fortunate, to have access to. We're an Apple school, so we have, we're very fortunate to have access to technology. So, but the one thing that we promote is sharing. If you have, an exciting idea, an exciting project, if you're involving students, share it. Twitter is a great outlet. We have a fantastic school social media specialist. She integrates, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. So, we share opportunities. There's so many different fantastic, service learning grants, many grants that are available. We celebrate our student success. My administrator, we celebrate that student success. We want them to, share what they're doing. We want everyone to know, if you've got a fantastic project, let's share it. If you have a fantastic idea, let's hear it. And, I have students every day that they run up to me and they show me a project they did at home, and we'll share it on social media. We want to build that excitement, that imagination for learning.
Excellent. Excellent. When I'm going to jump back a little bit to some PD there, David. What resources are you currently using? We know that you're active with Learning to Give, but what other associations or groups are you an active member of?
I'm a big advocate of professional development. There's a lot of great professional development, for teachers out there. You've got your ISTEs and your NSTAs. You've got several great organizations that provide, so many different outlets for teachers to learn, for them to grow and for them to expand, what they're doing in their classroom, and not only that, but to share it, with others. I've been fortunate enough to interact with teachers from, all over the country this past summer. And, it's amazing, you have a passion for STEM and STEAM, and you can go just about anywhere and you can interact with students and teachers. And, there's just this global excitement for learning.
With that in mind, David, what, on a personal professional development note, what books are you reading? What, do you have any, key things that you go back to year after year to kind of refresh your mind or anything like that you think would inspire another teacher?
I'm a big astronomy nerd. I will admit that. I attended. We were at the recent Parker Solar Probe launch this past weekend. I equate everything to astronomy. You're discovering, you're exploring something new. Everything is waiting to be discovered. It's your job to get out there and find it and expound upon it. So, I always try to, I try to stay current. I look at the trends. I look at the latest technology. I try to stay in that that circle. Of what's happening, so I can always have that heads up.
Yeah, I love that what you just said. Everything is waiting to be discovered. I think that in and of itself is a really inspirational phrase for anyone, but I think in a lot of ways for a lot of teachers that might hit home is a reminder of the amazing work that you do every day and the lives that you touch and inspire. That's pretty powerful. Everything is waiting to be discovered. Love it.
Yes. Yeah, that imagination will drive you anywhere.
Yeah, definitely. When you think about that imagination and students and what you're doing in your classroom, how do you help them involve student voice and choice? What kind of things are you doing to give your students that advocacy and what it is that they want to do and how they end up serving?
You've got to, look for those collaborations with your students because, they're the driving force in your classroom. They're waiting to find out, what's new and how, we can find that standard or that skill, or, interact differently. I interview my students each week. What are they learning from the lesson? What's something new? Did they see something over the summer, you know, in a different capacity that I did that we could integrate into our classroom? Did they see a new robot? Did they see a new project, that they think that they could enter into the classroom? I had a student today that brought me a drone that he had made from a recycled Sprite can. And he said, "Hey, this would be a project that we might want to do today." I'm like, "Wow!" He had looked at some of the SpaceX launches this summer. He said, "I can't wait to I can get to a point to where I'm like Elon Musk and I can change and develop something."
That is awesome and exciting to see.
Yes, exciting times.
Good. David, do you have any other thoughts about service learning and philanthropy? We haven't really talked about philanthropy much, but the two kind of go hand in hand. And I know that you talk about giving and caring for community and participating in community. But I'm curious if you ever bring up philanthropy with your students in the classroom, that word specifically.
We've discussed it in our classroom before. You want your students to have a global perspective. You want them to not only give back to their community, but you want them to understand the goals and importance of philanthropy. And it's definitely a driving force in what we're doing, and trying to, I guess, an end result for our students so they can see the bigger picture. So definitely I see it as a component in learning.
Okay. And the bigger picture aspect of learning.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. What we often hear, David, that teachers say they work in isolation, that they're kind of in this, zone, and they stay in that zone. And we're wondering, what is it that you might want to talk more or share more with colleagues? And I know you've said you're pretty open and you like to share and you're on Twitter and all those things, but are there still other things or other places that you'd like to see more collaboration occurring between educators or topics?
I'd really want, yes. Of course, I want the topic of philanthropy to be something that, more teachers discuss, more teachers share, and more teachers can get a better grasp on. Because no matter what the subject you're teaching, whether it's STEM or math, or science, just to understand how, community issues can, be a bigger part, in giving back, that giving back component. Because, all teachers give back and all classrooms give back, but make it a little bit more personable. Let your students be the driving force for it. Let them, search something out and let them adapt, an idea to, to a local concern, something that might, help their community in a different way that you might see it.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. All right, David, that was the questions that I had prepared for you today. Do you have any final thoughts? Something that you want to leave our teachers with, our audience with, as we close out this interview?
Yes, as you start your new year and you see your new smiling faces and you're building excitement, think about what you can do to give back to your community, how your students can prepare themselves to help solve, issues in your community, whether it's, environmental, whether it's, something like we did with the Bonneted Bat project, really reinvent yourself and, think of how you can learn to give back to your community.
Excellent. We have a couple other people on the call. I'm going to open it up for a few questions. If anyone has anything for David, you can type it in the chat, or you can hop on the call line and ask him directly. All right, David. Sounds like everyone heard your story and they've learned from it, and they're going to kind of digest it and let it sink in. I have up on the screen there for everybody. You can follow David on Twitter. David, if anyone is interested in talking to you either one-on-one or via email, and they reach out to me and ask for your contact information, you can email me back on this. You don't have to answer right now, but I might try to see if I can connect you with other teachers that are interested in learning about your story or connecting classrooms or that kind of thing around different topics. So there's that.
Yeah, would love to. Thank you.
Excellent. So David, I really appreciate it. Learning, oh, is Florida, Anthony just typed, is Florida using NGSS? Do you know what that is?
Thank you.
David?
Yes, thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. What was your question? I think I.
Oh yeah, sorry. Anthony just said new generation science standards. Is that what Florida is using?
Yes, Florida's using next generation science standards. They
Next.
are a big component for K-12.
Thank you for the question, Anthony. Anything else? All right. With that, David, I'm going to move on in the presentation, but we do appreciate your time during this busy start to the school year. And this recording will be listed on the website as well on the LTG Collaborative page. So feel free once this is posted to share it out with your colleagues and your administrative support and also on your own Twitter because you have that and you're really engaged on it. So again, we appreciate it and thank you so much. All right, everyone. We have a couple things, items to kind of get through that I just wanted to touch base on. We do have a new Get Started tab on the website, so I'm just going to pull this over and show you that real quick. So on Get Started, we have it set up. We have our new TeachOne available. You've received a few newsletters about that, so please take a chance to look at that. Mini grants are currently open and available. We'll start reviewing them September 22nd. We're offering $250 to $500 this year for classroom projects. So make sure that you peek at that and see that process. Now, under Get Started, we've pulled some different activities and resources out to help you do three main things. The first is build community, where we have activities like Blue Sky that we've talked about a few times on other calls. We also have developed skills and knowledge where we dive a little bit deeper into what is philanthropy, why does it matter, and how does it work. And then we have Take Action, which helps you teach your students the stages of service learning, provides the different types of service, talks about reflection. So again, this just pulls the content out to make it even easier for you to access what you might be looking for or in search of. And when in doubt, just feel free to email me anytime. It's kheragers@learningtogive.org. And I can help you find a resource if you're having trouble finding something. But for the most part, if on that search tab you type in a keyword or a phrase, pick your grade level and your subject area, you'll be sure to find something that you can make work in your classroom that's pretty turnkey and ready to go. Now, in addition, we created a new printable calendar for the 2018-19 school year. This is just a 5-page PDF. You can print it black and white, you can print it full color, whatever it may be. But as you can see, each month shows a kindness mini challenge that you can then give to your students that kind of gets them thinking about giving and caring and community. We highlight one day a month this year where we're popping out and showing you exactly a day that other schools and other classrooms across the country are going to be focusing on. So September coming up is Citizenship Constitution Day. And then also that month, we're encouraging you to do lessons around different subjects. So civil rights or citizenship, there's always going to be a few search terms. And with those terms, you can just type them again in that search section on the website, put in your grade level and put in your subject area, and that will help you find lessons that meet your needs. And again, all these lessons and resources that we have like that available are state standard and Common Core aligned. So it will fit what you're required to teach. And also give you that little added bonus of building community with your students and helping your students connect to their local community and support and also the global community. So this year we're doing TeachOne for Back to School. We're connecting with the Crayon Collection. It's a nonprofit organization based out of California. And really with TeachOne for Back to School, the whole idea is about collecting used crayons and repurposing them, rebagging them, and then distributing them to schools and families and kids in need. Great lessons available. It's a unit of 3 lessons broken down for K5, 6, 8, and 9, 12. So the grade levels are there. They can be standalone in your classroom. You can do it on your own, or you can connect a 3rd grade classroom with a 7th grade classroom who then connects with an 11th grade classroom. If you have those resources and connections and collaboration among buildings, then that's awesome. If not, the lessons can still work and will inspire your students to give back and think about what those used crayons do to the environment, and why we would even want to repurpose and reuse them. In addition to TeachOne for back to school, we also have other TeachOne initiatives coming up this school year, so keep an eye out for information about TeachOne for Martin Luther King Jr. Day and TeachOne for Earth Day. So we have our 3 initiatives this year. Again, all lessons built with the K5, 6, 8, 9, 12 model, so that it will fit kind of things and topics that you're already talking about in your classrooms. We're connecting art a little bit within all of these, connecting with nature a little bit, connecting with generations a little bit, and then all the different subject areas that are interdisciplinary and support each lesson. So take some time, look at that TeachOne page. Lastly, we have mini grants for student service. So if you just need inspiration, if you're like, oh, I'd like to apply for a mini grant, but I'm not really sure how it works and I'm not sure what I would do with it, we have amazing stories of student service on the website. You would just go on any page, and up in the right-hand corner, there's a tab that says trending. Just click that trending and you'll see a whole list of stories of service over the last few years. There are pictures and student quotes, links to the specific lesson that teacher infused, how many students were involved, where they were, and what aspect of service they were able to do and how they impacted their community. So great ideas there, and we're always open to new and fresh ideas as well. So consider a mini grant for this school year. Now, this was something that I was going to do if there were a few more people, but either way, if you're watching this webinar later on down the line, just think about these questions on your own. And also, as you're considering these questions, let us know here at Learning to Give how we can support you. Whether it's you need help finding a resource, we can do that. If you're looking to build community but you're not quite sure, with your 7th graders what the best activity to do is, we can always hop on the phone, we can email back and forth, we can help you kind of figure out what might work for you this school year with this cohort of students. So any of those things, we're here for you. And we also have professional development, which would print off a certificate that you could then take in for your professional development hours that you're required to do within your school and within your district. So just make sure you keep those things in mind and know that Betsy and I are here for you, and we're open to talking and sharing ideas and collaborating and coming up with solutions to any problems or issues you might have. So in the future, we have the LTG collaborative page, so keep your eye on that for any updates or new opportunities, things happening. We have the closed Facebook group. Again, if you come across an article that looks interesting, if you have a teacher mug that you use every day, post a picture of that with a little quote. If you go on the Facebook page, you'll know what I'm referencing there. But things that if you think it's interesting, if you think it's helpful, if you think it's inspiring, if it gave you a laugh as an educator, it will do that to someone else. So please share those things on that Facebook group, and we can collaborate and enjoy together. Our next meeting of the LTG Collaborative is scheduled for Thursday, September 13th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will send out email reminders prior to. There will be a registration process again, and this one will go back to being a closed meeting. So the only way to attend the September 13th meeting is to be a member of learningtogive.org. So you'll have to create an account if you do not already have one. And then you will have to ask to join the LTG Collaborative group. With that, That wraps up this discussion today, unless anyone on the line has any other questions, comments, or ideas. Alrighty, I think that's a wrap. So again, thank you so much for your time this evening. And another shout out thank you to Mr. David Lockett from Florida, our teacher feature interviewee for this evening's discussion. And we will get back with you here at the same time, same evening on a Thursday to talk again. We appreciate it. Take care.